all humans are looking for inner happiness. And I have seen, talking to few people here, that this is not a normal place. When the mind settles, simultaneously the body experiences deeper and deeper rest. And I had the great honor to work directly with Maharishi over many years. There are so many people in society who are constantly violating the laws of nature. Now that the world situation is now in a difficult situation, where a third world war could happen, and what I see now in Germany and other parts of Europe, that the problems have become so big. As we know from Bhagavad Gita, knowledge is the greatest purifier. Sometimes I felt like James Bond. It was just unbelievable.
Woof woof. Welcome to Kanha Cast. Today I'm speaking to Mr. Lothar Pirc. He is an entrepreneur, lecturer and philanthropist, and also the founder of the Maharishi Ayurveda Health Center at Bad Ems in Germany. This is one of the largest Panchkarma centers in the Western world. He is also an author and was recently at Kanha Shanti Vanam for the 10,000 for World Peace program, organized by the Transcendental Meditation community. So namaste, Brother Lothar. It's such an honor and a pleasure to have you in the Kanha studio.
Namaste, Rudi, brother. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
No, it's absolutely our pleasure, and it's been so wonderful having people from all over the world who practice transcendental meditation at Kanha Shanti Vanam. You've really enriched this place with your presence, and it's so beautiful. And today is a very auspicious day as well. Today is the birthday of Maharaj Raja Ram. So it's a very special day, and thank you so much for taking the time out to be here and talk with us.
I must say that all the people that I have talked to, they really enjoy this place so much. And the people here are very cordial, very loving. It's one of the best places in the world I have seen, really.
Thank you so much. That's such a beautiful compliment coming from you. So tell us something about this event, this very special event, 10,000 for World Peace. What is the idea behind this event that is being held?
Well, the idea behind is to give the world a taste of reducing the stress in the world. As you know, we have quite a few trouble spots in the world and unpleasant war activities.
Absolutely.
And we feel from the organization of Transcendental Meditation that we have a proven solution that works. And His Holiness Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, our founder, when he came out in the 60s with Transcendental Meditation to improve the growth of enlightenment and better health and better social behavior, he was asked already at that time if everybody would need to meditate to create a better world, to create a peaceful world. Mm-hmm. And he said after some silence, if 1% of the population will be practicing Transcendental Meditation, there will be a transition in the collective consciousness. And there will be less crime rate, there will be less accidents. And I think in 1974, the scientists found in a number of cities in America that whereas the crime rate was rising everywhere, every year about 8%, in those cities where 1% were practicing Transcendental Meditation, the crime rate was going down.
Wow.
And so we tried to get 1% of the world population to meditate, and we had some good projects, but the time didn't seem to be ripe at that time. The general public didn't really take it. And then there was a time in 1974 when we had a couple of wars like Lebanon, Iraq, Iran.
Yes.
And then Maharishi said there is yet a more powerful technology that comes also from the ancient Vedic tradition, from the Yoga Sutras, with the yogic flying. And if these techniques are applied in a group, then they will be more powerful. And Maharishi asked volunteers to go to the trouble spot areas, and they were not participating in demonstrations on the street or anything. They were just silent in their hotel rooms, a group of 1,000 people, 2,000 people. And before they came, the press was informed, the politicians were informed, the scientists were informed, and they were just asked to watch what happens during that time. And whenever these advanced meditators came and practiced their program, as we call it, together, then the war activities dropped down completely. And when they had to leave, when their holidays were over, they started again.
Oh.
And by now we have about, I think, 50 studies. 35 of those are peer-reviewed that have appeared in very prestigious journals like the United Nations Journal for Conflict Resolution. And it really shows that it works when the square root of 1% of a given population is practicing together transcendental meditation and advanced programs, then all the negative values go down. And we had 3 global demonstrations in the past, in 1973, 74 in the United States, and later on in Washington, D.C. and in The Hague. And scientists objectively have reviewed the world news and the trends of the time, and it was really noticeable. Now that the world situation is now in a difficult situation, where a third world war could happen, our leader, Dr. Tony Neda Maharaja, he has asked 10,000 volunteers to come from all over the world to this wonderful place for 2 weeks to demonstrate that it works. And an independent team of scientists is reviewing the whole thing. Already we see some very positive trends occurring. And our hope is that it will not be just a one-time taste, but we would like to encourage the wise leaders of the world to establish a permanent group of 10,000 people for the world peace. And as you know, many leaders have come here to address the assembly, and they were very impressed to meet the people here. And so we have to join efforts to create this permanent group of 10,000 to save the world, basically.
That's so beautiful. That's such a noble goal, actually, with world peace being in such a precarious state, as you mentioned today. But times right now are very skeptical also. People are extremely skeptical, especially things like meditation. You would have come across people who were skeptical about it.
Yeah.
So this is being documented scientifically.
Yeah.
Do you think people are becoming more open to this idea as time progresses?
Well, we have, we have the scientific research on the level of experience. And then also we have the theory explaining the whole thing from quantum field theory that it works. And we just can spread the message. But what I expect is now that the collective consciousness in the world is a little bit softened at this time, that also the leaders of the world, they will appreciate it more. And we know that the governments are basically not free. Governments are the reflection on the collective consciousness. And our organization has been very active in the last few years in India, already creating many groups. Also in Nepal, we have created a wonderful program with the Gurukuls, where not only the transcendental meditation, but also the Adirutra Abhishek is performed every day. And these things, they soften. And what I have observed is that Prime Minister Modi has done so many beautiful improvements in India in the last years. And I really believe that India will play a very leading role in the world. And this knowledge is coming from Bharat. It's the ancient Vedic knowledge. And I think with all the groups practicing already the Transcendental Meditation and City program in so many schools and universities and Pandit groups in India, that I think the initiative to create the peaceful influence will come from India, actually.
Wow. Wow. I hope your optimism comes through and leaders come together the world comes together for this noble cause. I wanted to ask you, how did your personal journey with meditation start? I mean, you grew up in the Western world.
Right.
Was it from childhood that you were attracted towards a spiritual quest? Or?
Right. Already as a small child, I knew that there was something more than the outer life. And I was trying to find myself already to get to that place. And I did, actually, as a small child. I had this experience of transcending an inner light. But then in my youth, it got lost. And then I started to search. I knew there was something more. And I was reading Socrates and Hermann Hesse. And they were talking about this spirituality and pure being. And when I saw a picture of His Holiness Maharishi Yogi announcing a lecture about transcendental meditation, then I immediately felt this could be it. And then when I learned TM, already in the first few days, I had the experience of samadhi, of bliss consciousness.
Wow.
And I knew this is what I want to do all my life. So I went to Switzerland to see Maharishi. And then I became a volunteer of the organization in the age of 19.
Wow, that young.
Yeah, and then I became a teacher of transcendental meditation. And then I had many projects around the world. And then I got to know Ayurveda. And I had the great honor to work directly with Maharishi over many years. And so then I got involved in Ayurveda. And then I started 32 years ago with my wife, a very beautiful clinic in the former Emperor's Palace of Germany. It's called Bad Ems. And we have treated by now more than 30,000 patients. And we have seen that these Ayurvedic treatments are a solution for many of the chronic diseases where modern medicine can't help. Mm-hmm. And then I was thinking, what more could be there in this Vedic knowledge to help humanity? And then I started to go into the research about the peace creating. And then I had the idea to start a foundation in Germany to promote the Vedic culture. And we have been active over the last 12 years in Nepal, where we are supporting, with the help of many well-wishers, about, I think, 80 gurukuls by now.
Wow.
And there are about 2,000-3,000 Vedic Pandits who have learned the transcendental meditation and the advanced programs. And it's the vision of my life to spend the rest of my life to promote this Vedic knowledge from Maharishi to create a better world.
Wow, how beautiful. Was it difficult actually where you were in Germany to, when you had the first experience of transcendental meditation and when you discussed it with your peers, your friends, your family, was it difficult to explain to them really that you had found something that was not commonplace at that time at all?
Right.
People didn't know. So
yeah, it was difficult. I must say there were a few who started. And I was overly enthusiastic.
In the beginning, we all are.
Yeah. And I was very disappointed that the majority didn't take it up. And there was actually a lot of opposition, when transcendental meditation became very popular in Germany. The church was afraid that their members would run away. And they were kind of attacking everything that came from the East. Mm-hmm. So we had to face a lot of opposition during that time. Now it has become less. And I also saw how easy it is to implement this program in other parts of the world. Like I went to Africa, to Kenya I spent the whole year introducing transcendental meditation into schools. And when I came there, there was in the schools a lot of violence, in this school of the slum areas of Nairobi. And the students passed only 70%, only 30% of the students passed the examinations at the end of the term.
Oh, okay.
And when we introduced transcendental meditation, we noticed that within few months, the whole schools changed. The violence went down. They became more creative. They became more happy. And when we had left, we had like 10 schools who had adopted a TM program. And the average passing of the examination went up to 70% from 30%.
Wow.
So then we went there, or I went there, where the people were more open and more ready to accept that knowledge. And what I see now in Germany and other parts of Europe, that the problems have become so big in the field of education, in the field of health, the problems with the refugees, growing crime and violence, that I think they will more and more look for alternative solutions. And fortunately, these programs can be implemented very easily. Mm-hmm. It is not connected to belief or change of lifestyle. It's very cost effective, and the effects have been scientifically proven.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's a very scientific process from what I've learned from Maharishi's lectures, and it's a process that anybody can do, and the results are repeatable.
Right.
And so was it for you an immediate realization that this was something you wanted to do, or slowly, gradually, as the technique unfolded itself to you?
Well, it came already very clear in the first few months. All humans are looking for inner happiness. And as I told you, in my childhood, I had this experience. And then in the youth, it got lost. And then people start to try different things. They drink alcohol and they start to smoke. But when you have the experience that it's so easy to go within and experience the inner happiness, then for me, the desire came very naturally. I would like to make this my profession, to share this knowledge with other people. Mm-hmm. But some people take a lot of time also, we are all different as humans.
All our journeys are different.
Right. And what I see in my clinic is that the people come for health. So first they take the treatments, the Panchakarma treatments to detoxify, and then they hear the lectures. And some people, they come 2-3 times and hear the lectures, and then they try. Usually their ladies start first. They are more open to that in general, And then when they come back next time after a year, then they say, it really was the most powerful of all the programs that you have offered, because my sleep has become better, my blood pressure has normalized, I have more energy.
How beautiful.
Yeah.
How beautiful. So one thing is the technique, of course, but you've also written this beautiful book, The Blessings of Maharishi, because you've had personal contact with Maharishi. So how was it meeting Maharishi? What was that like? The technique, of course, you experienced, but what about the meeting the person?
Yeah, it was a very extraordinary experience. When you meet Maharishi, he is full of happiness and love and compassion. He was very humorous also, but the main thing was his presence. The silence and light that is radiating from Maharishi, and his tremendous creativity. And I used to work as a volunteer, as a staff in the hotels where he was working and running courses. And I realized that he was working 20 hours, 22 hours a day without getting tired. And when you got near to him, you got charged with energy. And then later on, when I was a teacher and he sent me for different projects to meet ministers and heads of states in other countries and to to give proposals to them to start universities, I realized that I didn't get tired. Just doing what he was asking me to do gave me a lot of energy. And I felt that the circumstances arranged in a way that I felt many miracles happened. He gave me very impossible tasks, and they just materialized. Sometimes I felt like James Bond. It was just unbelievable. And then when I told my friends about these experiences, then they said, Lothar, you have to write a book about it. And then I heard many times this suggestion. And then one day I met a Jyotishi, a Vedic astrologer. He looked at my chart and he said, you can't write books, but you can tell stories.
Oh, okay.
But if the book is written like you tell the stories, tens of thousands of people from all around the world will learn the transcendental meditation.
Wow.
And then I started to write, and then Karin, my former wife, she wrote already many books on Ayurveda. She's a very skilled writer. She started to write. And then we have seen now how the book is accepted everywhere, that the people really like to read the book. It's uplifting for them. And in a very entertaining way, it is sharing the knowledge about the different aspects of Vedic science, like transcendental meditation, yoga, Ayurveda, Stapatya Veda, Jyotish, Yagyas, all these precious branches of knowledge. They are presented in a very lively way. It's like like a novel. It's very easy to read the book. And I'm very happy that this week, biggest publisher of India, Motital, has accepted the book.
Oh, wow.
And in 2 months, it will also appear with the biggest publisher in Russia.
Fantastic.
And already in the neighboring countries, more than 1,000 pre-orders have come in to the publisher. So I think it will help the people to get in an entertaining way insights about the practical value of the Vedic knowledge.
How beautiful. So it's actually will serve to open up hearts to the Vedic science. That's wonderful.
That's the hope, yeah.
That is so beautiful. Also, this idea of a guru, a lot of people are not comfortable with, especially in the West, of course, that, they think that, having a master or a guru is like you are surrendering your freedom. And there have been examples of people who've taken others for a ride. There have been, examples of that too. So people have a sort of skepticism right from the beginning. Was there any of that you felt, or were you immediately convinced that this was the right path?
It was to some extent there. At the first time, I grew up as a Christian, and there were also some doubts. Am I running away from Christ? And then with the continued practice, I realized that the Bible became for me meaningful. Many things in the Bible are not easy to understand for people. But when you experience the inner self and inner happiness and what we call nature support, the fulfillment of desires, and I started to feel more comfortable. And I have, during my career as a teacher of transcendental meditation for the last 45 years, I have initiated into the technique of TM many priests also, many of our clients also, and they all have benefited so much from that. But many have said, don't share with others that I'm meditating.
So it's still something they feel they have to keep hidden, huh?
Yeah, many kept it private for themselves. But some books came also out from priests about TM. And I think TM is not in conflict. I also taught, especially in Eastern Africa, many Muslims leaders of society, transcendental meditation. And they all liked it a lot. And there is no conflict with any religion. And Maharishi is not a master like people think, a guru who is telling you to do this or to do this. Maharishi has brought to light the technique how to transcend. And he has brought the Vedic knowledge out to the world in a scientific language. and people become more free. So Maharishi was not a guru that you would touch and ask, should I get married, or should I take this job or this career? Maharishi was sharing the knowledge, and his role in the world has been to be the teacher of the world, to raise the collective consciousness, to free the collective consciousness from stress. So people are completely free and they follow whatever religion they want. In fact, Maharishi said, there is no need to create a new religion because all religions contain the same true knowledge. What is necessary is to raise the consciousness of the people so that they can understand and follow their own religion.
That's so profound. That is so profound. And is it for a new person, for a person who doesn't know the technique at all?
Yeah.
How would you explain transcendental meditation simply? What is...
We explain TM in the terms of benefits. And the benefits are really remarkable, and they are very scientifically documented. So in our introductory talks that are standardized all over the world, we explain that TM is a very simple, natural, effortless technique, completely independent from lifestyle or religion. And it just requires a qualified teacher to learn it. And once you have learned in 7 steps, you practice 20 minutes morning and evening. You close your eyes, you sit comfortably. And within a few minutes, you get a very profound state of restful alertness. So we show in our lectures the scientific research. You see the metabolic rate, for example. You need about 6 hours of sleep to reduce your metabolic rate by 8%. And during 5 minutes of TM for beginners, the metabolic rate drops about 16%. The skin resistance, which is also an indicator for relaxation, goes up 4 times higher than other relaxation techniques. And very interestingly is the scientific research on the brainwave activities. So we could show you a video showing within 2 minutes how somebody who practices transcendental meditation, how his brain waves become coherent. That means the different parts of the brain that show different frequencies, they become all orderly and coherent. And we say that this is a 4th major state of consciousness. The average person only knows waking, dreaming, and sleeping states of consciousness. And during transcendental meditation, we experience samadhi. And in the yoga tradition, we know it as, the definition is yoga chitti vritti nirodha. That means the experience of the state of yoga is the settling down of the activity of the minds. And then all the brainwaves become coherent and the physiological rest is so deep and we are fully alert inside. This is very unique. And everybody, even the most skeptical person, doesn't have to believe it. It works with everybody. Now, as a result of that, the creativity increases, the learning ability increases. We know that the human people average in our world today, they may use only 10% of their mind. And during transcendental meditation, during the regular practice, we are reaching more and more of our mental potential. Many schools, hundreds and thousands of universities in the world have introduced TM, and they have seen that the intelligence is increasing. And when people meditate, it becomes practical because they experience that their desires get fulfilled more quickly. Maharishi said we call it nature support. Our life becomes more in tune with the natural laws, and in religious terms, we would say with the will of God. The natural laws are nothing else than the will of God. Just the intuition becomes better, and we become strong in doing right, and we become weak in doing wrong. But most dramatically are the results in the area of the health, because we can measure, what is changing in the physiology, and we see that the stress hormones go down, There have been many studies comparing TM with other forms of meditation and relaxation. And they have found that TM is more stable as effective to reduce fear and anxiety. There are meta-analyses which have taken into account 150 different studies on relaxation techniques and the reduction of fear. And fear is a very big problem. You just have to start the news, what you see, people creating fear. All the media are creating fear.
Sure, all the time. Yeah.
And what is the most effective way to reduce fear is relaxation. And TM gives the deepest possible relaxation, even for skeptics, within a few minutes. And what has impressed me most, working in the area of healthcare, are the studies from the health insurances. The biggest health insurance company in the world is called Blue Shield Blue Cross. And they have in the state of Iowa 500,000 members, out of which 2,000 are practicing transcendental meditation. And they have been analyzing the data of the health insurance. And they found that heart diseases went down. The costs for treating heart disease, 87%. The costs for treating tumors, cancer, 56%. Nervous disorders, even 94%. The only area where the meditators were more expensive was in the area of child delivery.
Oh, okay.
But this is not a disease, as you know.
Yes.
So the average saving over a period of 5 years was average 50%. And there are about 6-7 more studies from different health insurances in Canada and other countries, the Netherlands, around the world, that have shown when people start to meditate, in the first year, the reduction of the healthcare costs is between 20 and 25%. And we have so many financial problems in Western countries, with the healthcare systems. So this is really a solution that works. And then there are very fascinating studies that have been funded by the National Institute of Health in America, by the government basically, in the area of heart diseases. And the National Health Service has given a grant of $5 million to see how the most severe heart disease, heart attacks, heart hypertension, can be helped with different relaxation techniques. So first of all, the Cardiologist Association, they have chosen 4 different possibilities. They took the muscle relaxation from Jacobson. They took the combination of diet and exercise and transcendental meditation. And then they have selected the most difficult group, Afro-Americans, men, living in the poor, densely populated parts of big cities, who have been suffering for more than 20 years with hypertension. And they have found that after 4 months, that TM was more as twice as effective as the other approaches to reduce hypertension. So there are many, many more studies without going into detail.
Sure.
And they have found recently that even the aging process is reduced when people practice transcendental meditation. They have taken into account about 30 or 40 measures like blood pressure, like memory, like stress hormones, hearing ability, seeing ability, all those various factors. And they have taken the data of 2,000 meditators and they compared it with the data of the general population in America. And they found that people who practice up to 5 years TM, and the average age was 40 years, they're 5 years younger biologically. And those who have been practicing more than 5 years, they were even 12 years younger. And the latest research has been done in the area of epigenetics, these telomeres that are associated with the aging.
Yes.
They are showing that when people meditate, that they deteriorate much slower than with other people.
So that'll actually help at the anti-aging process.
Right.
It'll
It's
slow
the
down
most
aging.
effective, I would say, mental approach to reduce the stress which is the major factor for the aging process.
That is so astounding that meditation can have all these effects on physiology, a mental exercise like meditation. Which brings me to another question that a lot of people, why they are resistant to meditation is like, I can't sit still and I have too many thoughts. It's, I can't quieten the mind.
Yeah.
So the moment you suggest meditation, it's like, no, it's just my mind is always racing. It's not for me.
Yeah.
Do you find that also a common response?
We do find it also. And we tell the people, you don't have to try to stop the thinking process. The technique which has come from the ancient Vedic tradition is so authentic and so natural. It's an innocent technique. And when people start with the practice, then the mind settles down automatically. You see, our mind is always in the search of some kind of satisfaction. Through the senses, we want to taste this or we want to possess this. We are always in the look for happiness.
Yes.
And the mind always goes there where the mind finds more happiness. Suppose we are talking about an interesting subject and somebody would be playing very nice sitar music. Then you may think, you may notice that after some time that your attention went to the music. So the mind always goes where it finds more happiness. Now the inner values of consciousness and the level of samadhi is the most happiness. And during transcendental meditation, the mind is diving within and gradually the mind is transcending. The mind is going beyond the activity. And the finer our thinking process comes during the transcendental meditation, the more charming for the mind it is to go more deep and more deep and more deep. And when we have reached Atma, the self, then we are remaining with pure, unbounded bliss consciousness. But we don't stay there. It would seem to be logical to stay there. We have to come out again. And the reason for coming out, that needs to be explained for the new meditators, is because when the mind settles, simultaneously the body experiences deeper and deeper rest. And the rest during TM is about twice as deep as during sleep, average. And when the body is experiencing this very profound rest, then the body is using this energy to purify itself from the stresses. And this purification is an activity that takes the mind out again. And then we go in again, and then we go out again. But in average, the rest is about twice as deep during transcendental meditation.
Wow.
So the new meditators shouldn't expect to be 20 minutes in samadhi all the time. But they experience, even for a short time,
you get a glimpse of it.
Right. It's like with diving. Suppose it's very hot and you jump into the lake. Suppose you have a pure water. And even if you don't dive very deep, you come out very refreshed.
Sure.
Like that.
Sure.
So it's natural that we have thoughts, but the mind by its own nature is motivated to go within. So everybody can learn it. And the benefits is what is most convincing. People don't have to practice for months. Even in the first few days, the people notice that after meditation, they feel more calm, they feel more relaxed. At the same time, they have more energy and they have the experience that the senses become more sharp. And there's a feeling of inner happiness that is growing over months and years of practice.
Wow. Well, you mentioned this bliss consciousness, this state that you get into, which is twice as restful as sleep.
Yes.
I would be tempted, weren't you tempted just to leave everything in the world, the material life, and just be in this sort of meditation like a sannyasi? Was that ever a thought?
Yeah, well, you see, Maharishi said there is only a small part of the population who have the destiny or the dharma to live that kind of a recluse life. And he said the misunderstanding when he came out of India, that people were thinking that meditation is only for the recluse way of life. And he said it's for everybody, because rest is the basis of activity. And there are a few people, maybe 1 out of 1,000, who have the destiny or the dharma to live that way of life. And Maharishi has created the program for the men, which is called the 1,000-headed Purusha program, and for the ladies, the 1,000-headed Mother Divine program. And these people, they dedicate all their life to the silence value of life. So they meditate not only 20 minutes, but they do longer programs. And I myself joined the Purusha group for 7 years.
Oh, wow.
And this was the most precious time of my life. And I feel this has prepared me for the outer success. I had a desire to have a family and have children and to do something in the outer world also. So after 7 years, I left that program. But I didn't expect actually that I would be able to continue to work directly after that time with Maharishi, which fortunately happened. And so TM is not only TM, but Maharishi also has structured a wonderful path of advanced techniques. So when people learn the transcendental meditation and they have practiced for a year or two, they can learn some advanced techniques, and then they can learn the TM Cities program. So there are many ways to progress. And also new knowledge is very helpful. So the Vedic wisdom is eternal, it's uncreated, and the study of the Vedas is also something that is enriching our life. We know Bhagavad Gita is kind of the essence of all the Vedic knowledge, and there's so many Vedic branches like the Upanishads and the Aranyakas and the Brahmanas and Ayurveda and Jyotish. And this knowledge also helps us to purify. As we know from Bhagavad Gita, knowledge is the greatest purifier. So there's wonderful courses that Maharishi has created for different areas of society. He has created courses for the leaders in the area of administration and politics, how to learn from the government of nature to administer society. We see that nature organizes the entire universe without a mistake, completely effortless. And the leaders of the government, they should learn from nature how to organize and how to administer society. Maharishi has created beautiful courses for the educators of the world. You see, education now is very limited. We are dealing actually only with one part of knowledge, with the outer knowledge, which we call chandas in Vedic terms. But there is Rishi, the knower, and there is Devata, the intelligence connecting the inner and the outer. So education should consist of all the knowledge of Rishi, Devata, and Chandas. And we know from Maharishi that there are 7 states of consciousness. And the ordinary person knows only waking, dreaming, and sleeping. Now with Samadhi, we experience the 4th stage of consciousness. But there's a 5th state of consciousness, which is called cosmic consciousness. That is the natural state of life, Maharishi says, when our nervous system functions normally without stresses. And then all our thoughts, they are in tune with that unified field of all the laws of nature, with the self. And then we are not creating a ground for suffering because we live in harmony with natural law. And then there is the 6th stage of consciousness, which is called Bhagavad Chetana, God consciousness, where the full value of the heart is developed, the love, where the perception is so fine that we can perceive the celestial values of life in everything. And finally, the 7th state of consciousness, Brahmi Chetana, unity consciousness. This is what Vedanta says. I am that, you are that, all this is that, aham brahmasmi. So this is not just a philosophy or a wishful thinking, but this requires a physiological transformation to see the absolute value of life, the Atma, becomes Brahman in everything. So this Vedic education is the knowledge in scientific terms, and as you know, the Dr. Tony Nieder, under Mahari's guidance, has discovered the structure of Veda and Vedic physiology in the human physiology. So Maharishi has developed so beautiful courses. Then there is a complete knowledge about Ayurveda, the science of life. Mm-hmm. Many parts of this knowledge were lost in India, under especially the Indian rulership. And Maharishi has, with the help of the family traditions of India, like a puzzle, bring all the different parts together, like Nadi Vigyan, pulse reading, is such an important part, and especially the consciousness aspect. So Ayurveda has been revived by Maharishi to its completeness, and we have now 20 different treatment modalities, and Mahari's brought out Ayurveda actually to help us to get enlightenment, to purify the body with the help of Ayurveda. Like that, he has revived the knowledge of Jyotish in its completeness again, the knowledge of the present, the past, and the future. And the purpose of Jyotish is what is called as Heyam Dukham Anagatam. Avoid the danger that has not yet come. So even if the Jyotishi makes the horoscope of a country, he can see the war coming. And with the help of yagyas, but the yagyas have to be done from the level of para. The yagyas have to be done from the level of transcendental consciousness to be really 100% powerful. Wars can be prevented. And Mahari's organization is doing yagyas all the time for the countries that are troubled in the world. And then many problems in our world come from wrong vastu. People don't know the bad effects of a south entrance or a west entrance. And the knowledge of Sthapatya Veda is so important to have a problem-free life. And so wonderful knowledge is available for the courses that Maharishi has developed with the great scientists and Vedic scholars of the world. And I have the great joy now to have been appointed as professor of practice in Dr. Patil Divai University in Pune.
Oh, wow. Wow.
We have a collaboration in the area of Ayurveda, where we have been teaching the students the first 2 years now, transcendental meditation. And the university has 12 top medical colleges. And they also have one online center for MBAs with more than 10,000 students. And for the last 12 months, I have been teaching there the consciousness approach and the basics of Ayurveda, the basics of Jyotish and Sthapatya Veda, so that the MBA students, when they go out into professional life, or if they start their own company, they know about all these Vedic values to improve their individual and their corporate success.
That's so holistic. It covers every aspect of life almost,
Right.
That's quite amazing. And you mentioned that even the yagyas, which can change the course of a nation,
right.
also, yagyas, but they should be done from that transcendental consciousness level.
To have the maximum effect.
To have the maximum effect.
Yeah.
So how does one, when there is a ritual like a yagya, we find very often that it becomes just a ritual, without that feeling in it or without the consciousness. So how does one preserve that and not make it just a ritual?
Yeah. You see, we have been introducing in many Jyotish schools and Yagya schools, and we have our own schools And in Nepal, as I said, we have about 90 gurukuls. So we have offered to those schools that we teach all their pandits the transcendental meditation. And in Nepal, many teachers of transcendental meditation have been trained amongst the acharya of those schools, gurukuls. And then after they have been practicing transcendental meditation for 6 months, then they're introduced to the advanced programs, the TM City programs. So the word Siddhi means perfection. Mm-hmm. And they're derived from the Yoga Sutras of Maharishi Patanjali.
Here the common understanding of Siddhi is like having a miraculous power.
Right. Siddhi means perfection. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have certain abilities in our nervous system that we have not been using because these channels, they are blocked. And the TM City program is working from the transcendental meditation, from the transcendental consciousness, to purify those channels, those abilities which are inherent with everybody of us. But you see the cities, these performances of these perfect abilities, like lifting off the ground or knowing past or future, they can only be developed when the person has access to this home of all the laws of nature, which is the fourth stage of consciousness, Turiya consciousness, the transcendental consciousness. So the city program is not working. The Yoga Sutras, I should say, they are not working if they are not supported from the unified field of natural law. So first we have to learn how to transcend. And then the city program is a technique that stabilizes, that enables us to stay in the transcendental consciousness while applying those sutras, those yoga techniques. And so the Vedic Pandits, they're trained in TM, they're trained in the city program, and then they are habituated to remain in that field of silence while they are chanting the Vedas and doing those rituals. You see, when you go to some temples, then you may see that the Pandits are looking at the cell phone.
Yes, and just chanting away.
While they're chanting, yeah. So there has to be the full attention, and at the same time, there has to be this inner unbounded consciousness. And when the Vedic recitations are performed from that level, then they're more powerful. Just to give you a simple example, suppose you go to the ocean and there's a lot of wind and you throw a stone. It will create ripples, but you don't see them because of the waves.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, when the ocean is completely silent, unbounded surface, and you throw a stone,
you see it.
Then you see the ripples, how they go to the shore and how they go back.
Yes.
And the same things apply to the mind. So when the mind is used to stay in the unbounded bliss consciousness and starts to perform from there, this is actually the level from where nature works, from that unbounded field of life. Everything is organized. And we as humans, we are blessed with this very precious nervous system that has the ability to experience the unbounded silence and to stabilize it. So higher consciousness comes from this.
That's so beautiful. So this is like a natural sort of, if you are coming from the place of natural consciousness, of where nature's laws work, then you will be doing nature's work, basically. You cannot be doing something unnatural.
Right.
You cannot be like a lot of people have this thing. If someone develops these powers, these siddhis, they can do something for personal benefit or this and that. But I think that is a safeguard. Being in the natural consciousness is a safeguard that you cannot do anything.
Right. When you are established in that field, you will lose the ability to do wrong.
Yeah.
Yes. You see, this is what we have seen in the area of modern science. You see all the progress that we have today, that we have fridges and that we have cell phones, and then we have medicines that can cure diseases that couldn't be cured before. Where does it come from? It comes from recognizing and applying certain laws of nature. But if they are not backed up by the holistic value of natural law, they can create a lot of side effects, like radiation or chemical side effects. But when you are going to the unified field of all the laws of nature, I would suggest that maybe you will interview sometime some of my colleagues who are very knowledgeable about quantum field theory.
Oh, wow.
They can give you a complete understanding how the laws of nature work, how everything comes from the unified field. And when you are at the basis where all the laws of nature have their basis, you can't harm others. Like a mother cannot harm its own child. Just like that.
Sure. Just now you mentioned the dharma and the destiny of of a person. If a person is destined to do something or the other, this is a debate that is ongoing.
Yeah.
Are we destined to a certain kind of life, or do we have a certain kind of freedom within that destiny? Like so many people would say, I'm destined not to meditate.
I think if somebody, it can only be done if people want to do it.
Yes.
You can't force somebody to do it.
Yes. But do you think that a little bit like you were talking about the epigenetics, the epigenetic field is basically the atmosphere can influence the genetics and over time. So the background a person is growing up in or the background a person comes from, it does influence your behavior in that way.
Absolutely.
So does meditation help in reducing those effects as well of the atmosphere? Say they may have gone through trauma. They may have gone through a difficult time growing up. And these leave strong influences that play out over the rest of their lives. But can meditation help us overcome that?
Absolutely, on two levels. On the level of the individual and also on the level of society. On the level of the individual, people having gone through some traumas, they have made their traces in the nervous system. Just for example, we have going on several programs for the veterans who came from the wars in Afghanistan.
PTSD.
So we have seen with PTSD, Pentagon is supporting that. A lot of studies have been done. And TM has been found extremely successful to help those veterans with these problems. But it takes time, You cannot release all the stresses after one meditation. The physiology takes time. But you see already after a few weeks noticeable results, On the collective levels, we also have these problems. And I was at a press conference with Maharishi in Switzerland in 1979 or something. And there was a very interesting question from a journalist. And she said, how should I explain my readers that a few thousand meditators can reduce war activities or crime rate? And Maharishi said, there are so many people in society who are constantly violating the laws of nature. And this violation of natural law is building up in collective stress. And they are expressed in accidents, in catastrophes, natural catastrophes, and in wars and all these things. Now, suppose you are boiling some milk. And maybe you have boiled some milk and then you forgot to take it off the stove. And you see the big mess that you have created, just before it starts boiling.
Yes.
And he said to that lady, if you just add a few drops of cold water before the milk starts to boil, you will see everything cooling down. And he said, compared to the huge society, these meditators that we have, they're just a very small fraction. But if they are doing it in a group, then they can be compared with these few drops of cooling water.
Wow.
So we have many problems, like we discussed in the beginning of the interview, with the wars now in Ukraine, in Israel, and Yemen, and other parts of the world. And these 10,000 people that are meditating here together, they cannot solve the problem, but they are like these drops of cold water to cool down the things. But it can be noticed, it can be measured, that it can be noticed. And we hope that the leaders of the world, and especially in India, people will be more open to this way of thinking of the Vedas and Dharma. For many, it would be just nothing to finance such a group. It's compared to the cost of a military plane or a tank. It's nothing, it's nothing. And it's a safety factor, because some people may fall asleep or they have a cold and they can't transcend properly, As a safety factor, we should have several groups of 10,000. And ideally, Maharishi wanted in every continent to have a group of 10,000. And compared to the money that is in the world, it's just nothing. And we can do not more than just offering what we have to offer. But the people have to accept it and they have to take it.
One thing I wanted to ask you this, there are so many different techniques that TM does practice.
Yeah.
The technique of yogic flying, what is the thought behind yogic flying? What is the principle?
Well, it's not about the effect, of an individual levitating. Maharishi has introduced this program because he said this is the most powerful of all the Vedic techniques to release the stresses in the collective consciousness. So what happens is, from my experience as a yogic flyer, I'm not a teacher of the TMCD program, so you may want to interview somebody who has studied this more. But from my own practice, what I can say is that during transcendental meditation, it's very easy to experience the state of samadhi and bliss consciousness. And it's very evident that this deep relaxation is releasing stresses. Now, when applying the technique of the yogic flying, for myself, what I experience is that I see some light in my body and feel some sweetness. And I believe this is the experience of soma. Soma is that very fine substance, which is kind of the clue of the universe, which is also called the nectar of the gods. And the human nervous system is producing soma when we practice the yogic flying technique. And then this intense happiness and light and sweetness is getting more and more. And then comes the impulse to lift up. It's not an activity of the muscles, it's an activity of the mind. But at this stage, we are not able to stay in the air, but we just have small hops. But what is experienced inside is this tremendous expansion of unboundedness and bliss on the level of the body. And some researchers, they were measuring the brainwave activities during the yogic flying. And what they found is that the brainwave coherence is maximum the moment the body is lifting off. I personally asked Maharishi many years ago, why can we not really fly properly? And he was going inside and he said, you will someday, but there are two reasons that obstruct up. One is the stresses that we as individuals have. He said there are the old samskaras in the nervous system, and it takes time to release them. And he said the other thing is the stress in collective consciousness. Our approach, I believe, in the transcendental meditation is that we are not running far ahead to get quickly to that state of realizing all these abilities and full enlightenment. But we are releasing with every program that we do, especially in the group, we are releasing the stresses in the collective consciousness, which is pulling us down. And Maharishi said, we are like a washing machine. All the people, all the day, they are violating so many laws of nature, accumulating the stress. He said you compare it with the laundry service. People bring the dirty laundry and the washing machine is making it clean, it's dried, and the people get the clean laundry and again and again. So these groups of yogic flyers, they have the role of purifying the collective consciousness. But we need more people to do it. That is the problem. So that the whole planet can make a big lift, we need more people to do it. And these volunteers, they have come here, they have taken their annual holiday from 139 countries. They came at their own expense, and many have helped to sponsor that. And we can only demonstrate while we're here that there is an effect, but it needs the real leaders of society to help to raise the collective consciousness. And I would like also to thank Kanha Shanti Vanam for hosting us, and your great leader. We just have to see his picture. You see how big his heart is. And I have seen, talking to few people here, that this is not a normal place. People are dedicated to spirituality. They are dedicated to compassion and love and devotion. And we all contribute in our way to make a better world. And in behalf of all my friends, I would like to thank you and all the beautiful members of your community.
Thank you so much. It's really the vision of Daji that all people who are working towards the betterment of our world come together and work together and help each other out, because the goal is a common goal.
Right.
So Daji has stated that and is working towards that in any which way. Because very often it becomes like we are one group, this is the other group, this is the other group. Yeah. It's like, and there's no cohesion between the groups of people. I mean, when the cause is the same, it makes sense for everybody to work together.
Right. Yeah.
And everybody to come together.
Yeah.
So after this entirely miraculous engagement, you've had the engagement at so many levels. I mean, there's, of course, the spiritual level of meditation, but also on the physical level, Ayurveda has been a big part of your life, and you're that beautiful health center that you have set up. What do you think really is the highest goal as a human one should have?
I think the highest goal is nothing less than going in the direction of highest enlightenment, Brahmichetana. And then this Vedic saying, Vasudeva Kutumpakam, is a reality. So to evolve towards higher states of consciousness and to do good to humanity, this is what we are here for.
That is so beautiful. And people nowadays feel that the human mind is at its pinnacle, right? We know much, much more than we knew before scientifically.
Right.
But most of these techniques, as you say, even the TM technique, has its roots in the Veda.
Yeah.
So how do you think that have we sort of had a fall after that knowledge, or what do you think has happened? How come that knowledge is not a part of our lives today?
I think it's the nature of life that there are always cycles in life. And we know this four big cycles in Vedic terms.
Yes, the yugas.
And we are now in the Kali Yuga. But Maharishi said that through these teachings of the ancient Vedic knowledge coming from the tradition of Vedic masters, we will have a rise within the Kali Yuga. And he said it depends how many people are kind of participating in that. Maharishi's vision was to create heaven on earth. And before he left, he said, my work has been done towards my master, Swami Brahmananda Saraswati, Jagat Guru, Bhagwan of Shankaracharya of Motyotiamat. And Maharishi said, the future of the world is bright. And that is my delight. And I believe it will come. I believe it will come. Maharishi made several predictions that I wouldn't believe. You see, Germany was a country that was divided.
Yes, of course, East and West.
And we had the Cold War. And Maharishi said many years before, again and again, that Germany will reunite overnight in a very smooth way, without any bloodshed. And exactly it happened. And Maharishi at that time, when it happened, gave the credit to the groups of Purusha and Mother Divine that I explained before. We had in Europe some groups of a few hundred people, and he said they are actually responsible that it could happen.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. It's been so beautiful talking to you. It's just been so wonderful, this peek into transcendental meditation and, of course, the extraordinary personality of Maharishi. I wanted to ask you, it's such a blessing to be with a master, with a enlightened being. So how you spent a lot of time with him, you asked him questions, there was interaction. So when he passed on to the other realm, how did you take that?
Yeah. I went to the funeral to Allahabad. And when his dead body was there, when I went around it to say goodbye, it's a very personal experience. I felt he was smiling at me. And I knew he would continue to be there. And what I have experienced, that for me it's not a difference. He is always there. We just have to open our heart, and he continues to guide us. At the same time, I feel very grateful that he has created and trained Dr. Neda to be the leader of his worldwide movement. And I feel very well taken care of also as far as the continuity of Maharishi's movement is concerned. So I don't worry at all.
That is so wonderful. That is so wonderful. And thank you for sharing that with us. And we wish you all the very best in the future endeavors and the wonderful work at the Ayurveda Center. And we hope programs like this keep happening the world over, because as you said, it's those cooling drops that the world needs. Yeah. And I thank you for taking the time out.
Well, it was a great joy and honor for me to speak to you. And once again, I would like to thank Daji and all your community. You're wonderful people. And I hope we will all together have a great future.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. That is so
Namaste.
Nice. Namaste. Thank you for tuning into this episode of KanhaCast. Please follow and subscribe to KanhaCast on Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram. Until next time. Woof woof.